this weekend at Darlington Raceway. We are now joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 3M Chevrolet, and Darlington Raceway President Chip Weil. Chip, I believe you have a brief presentation for Jeff, and then we'll go right into questions from our media.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. Certainly, this is a guy that we talk about each and every week, being his last Bojangles Southern 500. You know, he's also the active winningest driver here at Darlington, winning 7 times. That's pretty incredible, man. And it's funny, Cale Yarborough was telling me a story that he's only won 5, and when he came to talk to you, he said that, you know, when you surpassed him, he said, but you didn't do it like I did it with the old walls. I said, the man can get it done. So.
Well, nobody got it done like Cale, so I wasn't going to argue with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with the man either. But, you know, Jeff, you've done so much for this racetrack. You've done so much for our sport. Certainly a future Hall of Famer, and our local community is such a big supporter. You came last year and were part of our media day, and you saw how much our local folks love you and love what you've done for our sport. And, you know, this weekend we're celebrating the history of sport, and you certainly are a huge part of that here at Darlington. So we wanted to give you a little token of appreciation. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but on the front stretch we did a big 24 in your old Rainbow Warriors colors. We felt like that was appropriate, knowing it's the throwback weekend.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You know, I've been so impressed with what we've seen so far this weekend. You guys deserve a lot of credit. I think everybody has really gotten behind it, probably more so than anybody could have ever even anticipated, imagined. So that's very exciting, you know, for this race and the history of NASCAR, especially here at Darlington. I'm a little bummed we don't have a throwback paint scheme. We need a little bit more time and coordination to be able to pull it off. You know, and we kind of got to do our rainbow paint scheme at Bristol, but it would have been pretty cool to have had it here. But, you know, hats off. It's very cool seeing all those cars and uniforms and different things out there.
It's been a really fun industry project for sure. So
it's only going to get better if you do it again next year, by the way.
We're doing it again.
And with that, we'll go ahead and roll right into media availability. We'll go to Bob and then Steve Richards over on the right.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. While mathematically it looks like you should make the chase, how big a deal would it be if you actually clinched a spot this weekend and have no worries going into Richmond?
Yeah, that'd be huge. You know, we definitely feel pressure, and it's a little bit stressful right now. You know, being on the bubble. You know, I felt like we were in a pretty comfortable position about a month ago, and you know, we've just had some misfortunes. I feel like we've performed well enough to securely be in by points, and I can't say we've performed well enough to be real confident coming in here to, you know, that we're going to be one of the cars to beat. But I will follow that up also with the amount of hard work that Alan and the team. Everyone at Hendrick, you know, has been putting into the effort from you know, for this weekend especially, but you know, going forward as well. And I'm pretty happy with the car. So you know, I think we've got a shot at doing that. And no matter what, you know, we realize it's important for us to execute really well this weekend to put a great result out there on the track to get those points we need to go to Richmond and be a little more comfortable anyway. I don't. Other than a win this weekend, Richmond's going to be stressful, but the good news is we've dealt with it before.
We'll go to Steve, Viv, and Tom.
Steve Richards with PRN. Jeff, what were your impressions when you first came into this place and saw the track?
Yeah, I mean, I thought. I probably, this is one of those tracks, sort of like Bristol, where when you hear about the track, there's more of people trying to scare you and you know, put this fear in you of, oh man, Darlington, boy, that's a tough track, and you run right up next to the wall, man, that place is going to get your attention, the Darlington stripe. So you come into it going, oh man, I got to watch myself here, and then you go out there and you either like it or you don't. And I loved it right away. I loved running up near the fence. And I think had I not raced at places like Salem and Winchester in the midgets and the sprint cars, this track would have probably been a little bit more intimidating. But it fit my style. Our cars were good. I really enjoyed, right from the beginning, race at this track. So I think it was really more of what people were saying about it that stuck out in my mind prior to me coming here than when I actually got a chance to race here.
So the first time you slapped the wall, it was okay?
I don't remember the first time I slapped it. I feel like I can remember some moments when I got into it that I feel like cost me the race or almost cost me the Winston Million when we won that. I can certainly remember those. But the first time I got into it, it didn't stand out to me. I feel like one of the reasons we've been so successful here is the lack of the Darlington stripe on my car when the races are over. I feel like that's, and I was actually talking to Jeff Gluck about this earlier when I was being interviewed with him about, for me, one of the reasons I think I excelled at this track, you don't come here and at least back, when with the old surface and the cars with less downforce in them, even less than what we have this weekend, you didn't attack this track. It wasn't about being aggressive. It was about being patient. It was about finesse. It was about not overdriving it, and having a car in one piece at the end of the day. And usually the ones that had the fenders on it were the ones that were most competitive at the end of the day. And I feel like that's one of the things that I've done, really well throughout my career. And it's also one of the reasons why I haven't been as competitive in the last 10 years, because that's not the way you do it today. These days you're aggressive. From the time they drop the green, the cars have tons of downforce, the tires don't fall off, you just go for it. Now, this weekend, I think it's going to go back a little bit to the old school way of Darlington, and I hope that suits my style and what we have as a race team.
We'll go to Viv and then Tom.
Viv Bernstein, New York Times. Jeff, the flip side of Bob's question, what would it mean if you didn't make the chase in this last year? What would those last 10 races be like for you?
It would be unfortunate, for sure. All I've wanted this year is to, in my career by being competitive, and as competitive as we were last year, it'd be pretty disappointing, if we didn't make it. I feel like we've been fairly competitive this year, and I can't say that the reason we're in the position we're in right now is just because we haven't run well enough. We've just had some things that haven't gone our way, but we also haven't performed up to par with what we expected to do this year. So, I want to be in the chase, and we're going to fight hard to be in the chase, and I think it'd be a great way to in my career. But at the same time, and I mentioned this in Bristol, there's nothing that's going to take away from what's happened this year off the track. Things like this, every weekend, the recognition from the fans, the media, the track, owners and promoters and people that are part of this sport have been so amazing to me that nothing's going to take away from that. I'm not going to let 1 year define my entire career. But certainly at the same time, we're motivated by this being my final year, and I know my team is as well, to end this on a positive note.
We'll go to Tom, Bruce, and then Claire.
Hi, Jeff. Tom Jansen, FoxSports.com. You made no bones about the fact that you didn't like the package that they've raced for most of this year. What do you think the one we got this weekend, and is it going to suit your style more?
It's much better. There's no doubt about it. It's much better. I still can't help but reminisce about my earlier years here with a more abrasive track and a tire that just had tremendous grip for about 1.5 laps, and then tremendous fall off. We still don't have that. This tire is pretty hard, in comparison to that. and I don't think you're going to really worry about wearing tires out this weekend. But there is some fall off, and there's no doubt the grip is down. So trying to find the balance of the car seems to be pretty tricky. The cars are freer in, tighter in the middle, and free laid off, which is kind of what we fought at Kentucky. But I liked it there, and so far I'm enjoying it here.
Bruce Martin, Speed Sport Magazine. Jeff, you talk about aggressiveness. How fine a line is there between aggressiveness and bravery and making a move to some drivers that may make a move that wasn't so smart?
I've seen a lot of those here, especially, and they all can happen in turn one. I mean, turn one is there's not enough room really for two cars to go through there side by side. Yet we line up on restarts and original starts side by side. So, track positions become so important. And that's the other thing is there was a time where you didn't worry about track position. If somebody wanted to go fast and push the limits of the car and the tires, you were happy to see them do that. Like, man, yeah, go do that, because I'm going to be passing you in about 15 laps or less. And that's just not the case today. So it creates more aggressiveness, more bravery, more bold moves that, I'm actually surprised doesn't cause more accidents than it does. And that again, that's a product of how the cars are sticking to the racetrack these days, and the quality of the drivers. So, I don't know. With this package, I think you might see a little bit more of that. I think the cars are going to be edgy, especially on those restarts, and should make for a great race weekend.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You were talking about your driving style, and that may be the reason why things have changed, you said, aggressiveness-wise, and the way you drive the track. But I don't think anyone could have imagined you wouldn't have won here already this season. So I heard some people debating this week that all of the hoopla over your last season is what's made it very difficult for you to win. That's just piled on, even though you said till next year and you love it. But you were going to wait for a lot of that till next year. Has that affected anything? Would it be fair to say, as you talk about your driving style, or all of this attention on your team has been tough?
Yeah, and Claire, I appreciate your honesty, and I know you're connected to the fans in a big way with your show, and you hear a lot of those things, and I see it on Twitter too. But no, I mean, honestly, I've had so many distractions over the years. I've had far more distractions than I've had even this year, and have performed well. I feel like there have definitely been some distractions this year that maybe would have affected me, but I feel like I've addressed them. But you can't. You can't help when a wheel comes loose, or you have some kind of an issue that's out of your hands. So I feel like the times when I didn't step up and perform well enough, we didn't get the most out of that day. But I feel like I've been very focused and really, like, even at Bristol. I mean, I was having a fantastic race at Bristol. I was very happy, even though we didn't qualify well. And that's been another thing. We just haven't been qualifying well this year, and we can't quite put our finger on that. But which is one thing we did very well last year. So I think when I look at certain races this year, I feel like there's been races where I've performed very well. I feel like there's been ones that I haven't performed as well as I would like. But overall, if I had to put my finger on where we've been missing, it's not because of distractions.
We'll go right here behind Claire, and then we'll go to Pete and finish up with Dustin.
David Scott from the Charlotte Observer. Here, Jeff. The Charlotte race is coming up soon-ish. What are some of your memories of that track, aside from the fact that it was your first Cup win there?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the one that stands out probably the most. But Charlotte's always been special to me. I mean, the first time I ever traveled to North Carolina to pursue NASCAR and find out what it was all about, I drove by the Charlotte Motor Speedway and was in awe of it then. I'd never, other than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'd never seen another track that stood out to me like that. And that was just looking at it from the outside. And then it was the first track that I drove on in a stock car beyond the Buck Baker driving school. So that Charlotte has a lot of great memories for me, and also winning there twice in 91 or 92 before I came in the Cup Series. So it's in all the pole. My first pole came there. My first win came there in the Cup Series. So yeah, very very special track.
Pete, and then final question to Dustin.
Pete Yakabelli, Associated Press. Jeff, the memories here at Darlington, is there one that kind of stands out when you think of Darlington for all the success that you've had here?
Two that really stand out to me. Of course, the Winston Million really stands out. There was a lot of hype around that. I can remember coming down. We did a TV show that promoted that and talked about it. And I've always been hesitant to get behind hype because it's hard to live up to it. And being a part of that, you also want to take advantage of an opportunity, and we did, and then we won it. So it was very, very cool to be a part of all that and that whole experience, and then to go win it. And it was an exciting finish as well. And then the other one was, and then, I don't know if this was the last time I won here, when we stayed out. Steve Letarte made a great gutsy move. We stayed out, had clean air, we had overheating issues, and we won the race, pulled in Victory Lane, and the radiator exploded. That'll definitely stand out for you. And my family, my mom, my stepdad, my sister were here, which my sister I don't think has ever been at a race that I've won. Of all these years, she's never been there, and she was here. And they knew that they thought the engine was going to blow up. They heard the overheating, and they left to beat the traffic. You can imagine my stepdad got in a lot of trouble that day as they were listening to it on the radio driving out of here.
Dustin
Long, NBC Sports. Jeff, when you talked earlier about feeling the pressure and understanding the stress at this point, I mean, for somebody like yourself that's been through so much, how does that compare with different types of pressures or stress, because you've been in a lot of different situations? Can you give a sense of when you talk about what you mean by that?
I feel like I handle stress pretty well, and it certainly helps when you've been through it a number of times, but it doesn't mean that it goes away. You know what's on the line, what you have to do. And that's where I probably just try to turn my focus and attention to, is just doing the job that I need to do, and just not trying to overthink it, not trying to do anything over and above what I'm capable of doing, just doing my job and trying to help my team do their job the best they can by being there for them, giving them good information and communication. You always have to revert back to the things that you've been successful with. And there's always stress and pressure in this sport. Certainly with the new chase format, it's added to it in a big way. We've been in a situation before where we've gone to Richmond and we had to perform, and I feel like we've done a pretty good job with that over the years. So this weekend is not that kind of pressure, but certainly we realize that we've got two more races to go, and that we're not in a comfortable enough position to relax. And so it makes your job a little bit more difficult, but I feel like we're a team that can handle that.
Jeff, thanks for joining us, and good luck
thank you.
this weekend.
And thanks for the gift.